This isn't a scandal, it's not a crime, this is about a slice of key lime pie. Around 2010, people were posting online about a place called Kutchie's Key West Café. It's a small restaurant in Asheville, North Carolina that supposedly served the best key lime pie in the world. Stay with me on this. At first, it seemed harmless, but here's where it gets a little bizarre. The comments started popping up everywhere. Thousands of them, on food blogs, political articles, movie reviews, even people's obituaries. They're all saying nearly the same thing. Captain Kutchie's world-famous pies, Anita's treasures, my favorite, a piegasm to die for. Pretty crazy. They talked about the owners like legends. A bunch of name-drop celebrities from Jimmy Buffett to Ernest Hemingway. The language was strange. The patterns were repetitive. It felt like someone or something was trying to keep this long-dead restaurant alive. Yeah, by the time those comments appeared, Kutchies had already been closed for years. You can't make this up. The identity of the person or persons responsible for this phenomenon was a complete mystery. Is it a screwed up marketing campaign? If so, they dropped the ball on that one. Here's an idea. How about a coded message buried in plain sight? I'm Genua, you're watching America's Strangest History. Whatever this thing was, I think the mystery of Kutchie's key lime pie is probably one of the strangest rabbit holes on the internet. One that still hasn't been solved, I might add. Before we go too far down this rabbit hole, I want to lay out a few facts. What's real? Kutchie's Key West Cafe wasn't an internet myth. It was an actual restaurant in Asheville, North Carolina. It was owned by a couple named Oswald Kutchie Pelez Jr. and his wife Anita. Locals describe it as a friendly, tropical-themed restaurant. It was often called the Key West of the Blue Ridge Mountains. We've got palm trees on the walls, beach decor, Jimmy Buffett, and of course, the house specialty, key lime pie. Kutchie's opened sometime in the late 80s and ran for nearly 2 decades. It was known for its burgers and seafood, had a laid-back vibe. The key takeaway here, pun intended, the thing that kept customers coming back was the pie. Kutchie reportedly made it from scratch using a family recipe that he guarded like a state secret. For years, it was a local hotspot, but sometime in the mid-2000s, the cafe quietly shut its doors for good. Some suggest Kutchie retired. Others said that the business just slowed down. Whatever the reason, the restaurant was gone. This is a classic example of a small-town place gone for good. Then a few years later, something strange happened. Mentions of Kutchies started showing up again. This time not in local papers or food reviews. It was all over the internet. Random websites, comment sections, and even YouTube videos started singing praise upon this restaurant that no longer existed. And whoever was behind it wasn't just reminiscing, they were relentless. The real heart of this mystery isn't the restaurant, it's the comments. People first noticed them on old blogs that had nothing to do with food. A 2011 article about North Carolina tourism, an obituary for a retired veteran, even a 2009 movie review on a tiny local paper's website. They all had nearly identical comments gushing about the same thing. Kutchie's key lime pie. One read, Captain Kutchie's world-famous pies will knock you right out of your flip-flops. Ask Anita for a double slice of her treasures, you lucky devil. Another said, Jimmy Buffett, Ernest Hemingway, and the good captain himself. 3 legends, 1 piegasm to die for. At first, readers brushed it off as spam until they realized these posts kept showing up everywhere. They appeared on news outlets like the Huffington Post, small town papers, YouTube comment sections, Yahoo Answers. Here's one. How about a recipe board for chili and lasagna? Weird. Sometimes the entire comment section would be just Kutchie's references stacked one after another, like the same person posted them all. Now, no matter where they appeared, the mysterious comments shared a common thread. References to Captain Kutchie, Anita's treasures, and the Key West style. Sudden bursts of sexual innuendo mixed with patriotic lines about America, veterans, or even the Navy. Random celebrity name drops like Elvis, Marilyn Monroe, Frank Sinatra, and John Wayne. It's absurd and oddly specific at the same time. It's also consistent. Consistent enough that people on Reddit began cataloging them. Users in threads like Unsolved Mysteries, Internet Mysteries, and Let's Get Haunted, they started to build up archives of these comments. People found hundreds posted between 2009 and 2018. Others traced identical paragraphs across different websites using web crawler tools. This is around the time a pattern emerged. The poster used slightly different usernames, including Kutchie, Pie, or Captain somewhere in the name. It nearly always ended with the same sign-off. Keep smiling, and remember, eat more pie. Whoever this person was, they were diabolical. They spent nearly a decade flooding the internet with Kutchie nostalgia for some unknown purpose, maybe to satisfy an uncontrollable key lime pie obsession. It's just weird. This happened long after Kutchie's restaurant shut down, so WTF. Understandably, people started asking questions. They wanted to know why. Once people realized how widespread the Kutchie comments were, how deep the rabbit hole goes, the hunt was on to figure out who or what was behind it all. At first, everyone assumed it was just spam. The internet is full of SEO junk, lots of bots leaving random praise, boosting up business and search results, maybe gain some upvotes. But here's the problem. Kutchie's Key West Café has been closed for years, so there was nothing left to advertise. So, if this was marketing, it was advertising to no one. Then came the theory that it might have been a family member, maybe even Kutchie's widow Anita trying to keep her husband's legacy alive. Redditors were quick to point out that a few comments referenced Anita directly, always lovingly, protectively. It's as good a theory as any other, but no one could prove it was her. People who knew her said that she wasn't the type to flood the internet with bizarre fan fiction about pie and Ernest Hemingway. It wasn't her thing. Another theory centered around the overall impression of automation. Maybe it was an early experiment in content generation? How about a crude form of AI? It would explain the small variations between posts, like a sophisticated bot rotating phrases to avoid spam filters. Maybe. But even that doesn't fully fit. Some comments referenced real-world events, like new celebrity deaths and recent news stories. This seems to imply a certain degree of human involvement. And then comes the strangest theory of all, that the comments were coded. Some people started to wonder if the Kutchie's posts were hiding something. Maybe messages disguised as restaurant praise, a form of steganography where secret data is buried inside normal-looking text, coded messages. The patterns of names, initials, and sentence counts looks intentional. Words like Captain, Key West, and pie appear rhythmically, like a cipher repeating certain keys. But when data analysts tried to decode it, they couldn't find a hidden message. Nothing lined up perfectly. Whatever was happening, it wasn't random, but it didn't appear to be coded messages. There's another theory, plays on the human element. Maybe this was the work of a single person, someone older, maybe lonely, someone who lost something they loved and wanted to preserve it the only way they knew how, writing it back into existence. It turns the whole Kutchie's mystery into a kind of digital haunting. We have a restaurant that once existed in the real world and now lives forever in the comment sections. Brings new meaning to the term ghost in the machine. We don't know which version, if any, is true. The one thing everyone agrees on is that whoever wrote the posts wanted Kutchie's key lime pie to be remembered or at least remain in the public's collective memory. And it worked. When people first started collecting the Kutchie's posts, they thought that they were dealing with simple copy-paste spam. But further investigation revealed something far stranger and far more deliberate. One of the earliest known examples appeared on a local North Carolina news site in 2009 under a story about summer tourism. Now, buried in the comment section was a 2-paragraph ode to Kutchie's key lime pie. It began, "Only Captain Kutchie can bake key lime pie for Hemingway's ghost." It then went on to praise Anita's magical touch in the kitchen and ended with, "So drop your anchor, sailor, and grab a slice before it's gone." Now, at first glance, it was harmless, but a Reddit user later found the exact same paragraph with the word anchor changed to flip-flops. It was posted again a few weeks later in an obituary for a Navy veteran in a Florida newspaper. From there, the rabbit hole exploded. As more users started searching the web for phrases like Captain Kutchie and piegasm, the pattern became undeniable. The same voice appeared on the Huffington Post under an article about Jimmy Buffett, talking about how the good Captain Kutchie inspired Buffett's island songs. Also the Gainesville Sun, beneath a piece about Florida tourism praising Kutchie's famous goody-goody cheeseburgers and world-class pies. It popped up on YouTube on a Jimmy Buffett concert video. The message said, "He's probably enjoying a slice of Kutchie's right now with Hemingway and the gang." We even see these postings in Amazon product reviews for random kitchenware. They always end with the same line: "Keep smiling, and remember, eat more pie." By 2016, one Reddit thread logged more than 700 distinct sightings across 30 different websites. Now, users began cataloging them by date, location, and phrasing, creating what they jokingly called Kutchie corpus. It's like a linguistic archive of a key lime pie evangelist. What that archive revealed was startling. The posts followed a very specific pattern. They usually opened with a reference to Captain Kutchie, they mentioned Anita by name within the first 3 sentences, and they dropped a handful of nostalgic celebrity shout-outs like Hemingway, Gable, Buffett, Monroe, and it always ended with the same line. It's always 5 o'clock at Kutchies, or eat more pie. Each comment was a remix of the last. Never fully identical, but unmistakably from the same author. Linguists analyzed the comments and the writing patterns. They noted more than a few consistent quirks. Random capital letters, especially for nouns like pie, treasure, legend, or captain. Ellipses instead of commas, giving the posts a rambling, breathless rhythm. There were a few tense changes mid-sentence, as if the writer was slipping between past memories and present fantasies. Then came the most telling clue. One Reddit user cross-referenced timestamps and discovered that nearly all the posts were made between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. Eastern Time. Now, this suggests that the writer lived on the East Coast of the United States and were either a night owl or an insomniac. Others noticed that many of the posts originated from websites hosted on servers in Asheville, Florida, and the Carolinas, further narrowing the location to the southeastern states. Now, notably, this is the same region where the real Kutchies once operated, so that ruled out an overseas marketing bot. Whoever it was, they were local. There was another oddity. A few posts, especially those from later years, switched tones completely. The playful energy was replaced with something melancholic, almost mournful. One read, "The captain's ovens are cold now, but his spirit sails on. Anita still keeps the recipe safe. Some treasures are meant to last forever." That single line hit Reddit hard. It suggested the writer knew the owners personally, maybe even that they were grieving. Was it someone close to the family, a devoted customer who couldn't let go? Or maybe a member of the family themselves, writing in character? Every answer just led to more questions. By this point, the investigation wasn't just about a restaurant. It became a full-blown linguistic cold case with data analysts, Reddit archivists, and true crime podcasters all chasing the same ghost through comment sections across the entire internet. As the mystery spread, Reddit turned into a sort of digital crime scene. Users started combing through web archives and deleted pages, searching for any clue that could identify the person or persons responsible. One of the first major discoveries came when a user noted that almost every Kutchies comment included small, inconsistent formatting quirks, double spaces after periods, M dashes instead of hyphens, and the occasional use of the British spelling like flavor and favorite. This suggests that whoever was writing them was maybe older, maybe someone who learned to type before the internet age, maybe someone using a word processor, then copying and pasting the text into different sites. Then came something even stranger. A Redditor named Key Lime Detective managed to link several of the usernames used in these posts, like Anita Pie, Captain K Fan, and Hemingway Lives, to old email handles and business listings that trace back to the Asheville area. Now, some of those accounts were once tied to the web domains connected to a small home bakery that Anita Pelez briefly ran after the cafe had closed. The discovery reignited one of the most controversial theories in the case, that Anita herself, or someone close to her, may have been responsible. But the problem was the tone of the posts didn't fit. Many of them were written from a male perspective, and some even referenced the lovely Anita in the third person. If she was behind it, she was writing in character, possibly as her late husband, Captain Kutchie. Who knows? In 2018, a journalist from a small Florida culture blog tried to contact Anita for comment. She confirmed that her husband Kutchie passed away years earlier and that she was still baking pies locally, but when asked about the online comments, she ended the conversation. The article never ran. The silence only made things weirder. Not long after that, the frequency of Kutchie's posts dropped sharply. By 2019, the once constant stream of pie praise slowed to just a trickle. The final known appearance came in a YouTube comment under a Jimmy Buffett video. It read, "Here's to the good captain, still sailing somewhere between heaven and Key West, save me a slice." After that, nothing. No new usernames, no new posts. It was like whoever kept this bizarre ritual alive for nearly a decade had finally closed up shop, just like the Café did years before. But by then it was too late. The internet already turned Kutchie's legend into something bigger than one person. For a generation of online mystery hunters, it became proof that even the smallest, strangest obsession can live forever in the digital world. By the time the Kutchies mystery spread across Reddit, YouTube, and lots of obscure blogs, everyone had their own theory about what it all meant. Some of the theories were as strange as the comments themselves. The first and simplest theory is this phenomenon is nothing more than a marketing campaign gone wrong. Someone connected to the restaurant, maybe Anita herself, maybe a family friend, tried to keep the brand alive through a grassroots promotion. Except instead of using normal advertising, they filled comment sections with over-the-top praise, hoping that the repetition would spread the name around and gain some kind of recognition. Maybe. Sounds plausible until you realize there's nothing left to sell. By the time most of these comments were posted, the Café had been closed for nearly a decade. So there were no pies to sell, no pies to order, there was no website and no menu. The marketing theory raises more questions than answers. The next theory is described as the lonely memorial. Maybe this wasn't advertising at all. Maybe it was grief. People who lose someone sometimes build online shrines. They post the same phrases again and again. Maybe it was a ritual of remembrance. If the comments really were written by someone close to Kutchie or Anita, this could have been their way of keeping him alive, even if it meant haunting the internet to do so. That would explain the tone shifts, the later posts that grew more nostalgic, more poetic, even mournful. It also explains the references to heaven, ghosts, and sailing into the sunset. Also plausible. Then there's the bot theory. Some users think that this was an early automation. It could have been some half-finished SEO script or even a chat program that got stuck in an infinite loop. It would explain why certain phrases mutated over time and why the timing of the posts seemed almost automated. But there's a problem with that too. A bot shouldn't know when Jimmy Buffett just released a new album or when a newspaper published a new article about Florida. And yet the Kutchies comments somehow always landed on fresh content, never the same thing twice in a row. If it was a bot, it was one that someone was still guiding. Plausible. I like this theory. The most bizarre theory, and the one that keeps people awake at night, is that this whole thing is a series of elaborate cipher messages. This idea presupposes that the Kutchies posts were being used to hide something. Maybe coded messages, maybe file links, maybe something darker. It wouldn't be the first time. Intelligence agencies used public comments and forum posts to communicate hidden data before. It happened. Certain letters or phrases were replaced to transmit information without detection. Now, oddly enough, if you line up hundreds of Kutchies posts, you do start to see patterns. The same sequence of capitalized words, the same sentence lengths, sometimes even recurring initials that could correspond to a cipher. But despite years of analysis, no one's ever deciphered a coherent message. And then there's the theory that every post, every Captain Kutchie reference was a form of performance art. It's a long-term internet installation. This all boils down to one person creating a myth in real time. It's a blend of nostalgia, sexuality, patriotism, and a pinch of absurd humor. Now, these ingredients make a tantalizing mystery. It was never meant to make sense. It was meant to exist. And in that sense, it kind of worked. Each of these theories explains a piece of the puzzle, but none of them explain everything. Whoever did this, whether they were grieving, experimenting, or just trolling, they managed to create something that outlived them. A ghost story written in the comment sections. Before the internet ever heard of Captain Kutchie, there was simply Kutchies. It was a family restaurant sitting along US Highway 25, just south of Asheville, North Carolina. The Pelez family built it from the ashes of loss, quite literally. In the early 70s, Oswald Pelez Jr. and his relatives lost their grocery store to a fire. Instead of quitting, they rebuilt the property as a steak and lobster house. In October 1978, the Asheville Times ran a feature calling it A Time for Thanks. It told how the Pelez family planned to serve a free Thanksgiving dinner to 250 people who had nowhere else to go. They invited local churches to bring in the elderly, the lonely, and the poor. No charge, no publicity, just food and gratitude. That same year, a smaller ad announced a new favorite, Kutchie's own home-cooked barbecue sandwich, served all day, just $1.75. It was simple, Southern, and proud. Go back a year earlier to 1977, and the restaurant looked quite different, more like a supper club. The ad shouted, "Come shake a leg at Kutchie's." They promised steak, lobster, live trumpet music, and dancing till midnight. Another ad that fall celebrated their first anniversary. It featured a smiling portrait of Oswald Pelez himself, Kutchie, thanking Asheville for making their first year a success. Now, beneath the photo were the names of his family: Anita, Pete, Jan, Ron, and Oswald. For locals, Kutchie's wasn't just a place to eat, it was a community. Brown bag dinners and live music. It created a welcoming atmosphere where everyone belonged. By 1991, the business had changed with the times. A classified in the Asheville Times advertised Kutchie's Key West Café. It's the same phone number, the same family, now hiring new staff at 2186 Hendersonville Highway. The Steak and Lobster Club transformed into a breezy tropical cafe. Margaritaville decor, palm tree murals, Jimmy Buffett on the speakers, and of course, Kutchie's famous key lime pie. Now for a while, it thrived. Then sometime in the 2000s, the ovens went cold. The Pelez family moved on. A 2010 obituary for Anita's mother shows that the family was still in Asheville. Oswald Jr. and Anita were listed together. By then, the restaurant was gone. And that's the point where the story should have ended, except it didn't. Years later, when anonymous voices began filling comment sections with glowing tributes to Captain Kutchie and Anita's treasures, they weren't pulling those names out of thin air. They were resurrecting pieces of a real family, a real restaurant, and a real slice of small-town America that once was a big hit. So the ghosts in the machine didn't invent Kutchies, it remembered it. If you strip away the conspiracy theories, the code-breaking attempts, and wade through the endless Reddit threads, what's left is something surprisingly human. A family restaurant that started with a fire was rebuilt and became a local institution. A husband and wife poured everything they had into a small business and turned it into a piece of Asheville history. Now, decades later, when both the restaurant and its founders were gone, someone, maybe a fan, maybe a family member, maybe a stranger with an internet connection, they decided to bring it back to life. Thousands of words scattered across the internet, devoted to a restaurant that closed down decades ago. I think there's something rather poetic about it. In a way, Kutchies never closed. It just moved online. Every time someone reads one of those strange comments, the restaurant comes to life. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe there's no code, no marketing scheme, no elaborate plot here. Maybe what we're seeing is how memory behaves in the internet age. Because the strangest part of all is that Kutchie's Key West Cafe is now kind of immortal. Makes me want to go grab a piece of pie. What do you think about this phenomenon? Leave your thoughts in the comment. I'd love to know. You've been watching America's Strangest History. I'm John Genua. Thank you for watching.